have 3 romances to review, and I didn't hate any of them, so that's a good thing. So let's talk about them. But first, I want to talk about the lighting. If I just move my blinds, I'm blinded. So if it's dark, that's why. And the first book I'm gonna talk about is Beauty and the Baller by Ilsa Madden-Mills. So in this one, you follow a former quarterback player and also a former beauty queen. And Ronan, the quarterback, lost his fiancée in a car accident a few years ago. And at some point they meet up. So Ronan and Nova, the beauty queen, and they sleep together. It's like a one-night stand, and they have a great connection. But when they sleep together, instead of saying Nova's name, he's saying the name of his dead fiancée. So quite a mood killer. So they never exchange any information, no numbers, not even names. I think she knows who he is, but he doesn't know who she is, because when they met up, she was dressed like Princess Leia from Star Wars. And then a few years later, the Nova's mother has died, so now she's taking care of her little sister, who's also autistic, and they have like a new neighbor. And you can guess who is the new neighbor. It's Ronan. He came to this town to be like the coach in the high school. So yeah, it's kind of like a second chance romance. Like dislike to lovers, neighbors to lovers. They also became colleagues, so colleagues to lovers. You can have everything. There's any trope, you get them in this book. Also fake dating, which you might not know, but I hate fake dating, but in this case, it was okay. And to be honest, this book, yeah, it was just okay, but I wanted to talk about this because I feel like it's part of a bigger problem in like contemporary romances, because Ronan is in this town and is single when the story starts. And he has been eyeing the fact of being a coach for other teams or other cities, or like NFL's teams, so bigger teams, bigger salary and stuff. But the town wants to keep him as the coach of the high school. And the way they have found to do that is just to throw women at him, any age, thankfully legal age, but any woman. And particularly one person, I think we're supposed to find it like, haha, quirky, so funny, but actually it's like sexual harassment. This person decides to constantly harass him, come to his home. At some point she comes to his house and she's like naked underneath her coat. She works also at the high school, so that's why it's like there's like a fake dating aspect. So Ronan can be a little bit at peace at school because everybody keeps annoying him about the fact that he's single and he can move away, and everybody wants him to be in a relationship, so he stays in the town. But this aspect of like sexual harassment made me uncomfortable a lot. And also, I feel like if the roles were reversed, there wouldn't be even a question about the action that the main character would do to the guy who keeps sexually harassing the other character. Like, I don't know, to me he left a bad taste in my mouth, and I don't see how it's like glossed over, especially in this story. Like the character who harasses the Ronan, she doesn't get any like repercussion for her action. And again, if the roles were reversed, I feel like the plot would be centered around like sexual harassment, but because she's a woman, nothing happens. And to me, it's not funny. It's not okay. It's not normal behavior. And I feel like in romance, you see that quite a lot. When you have the bachelor in town and everybody keeps throwing themselves at him. But again, if it was the other way around, it would be a real problem. So that's why I wanted to talk about this book. And it's not even a rant, it's just a thought I wanted to talk about, and to talk about something that I wish could change in some romance stories. So yeah. Otherwise, the book was fine. It's not very memorable, but it was fine. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Friendship Fling by Georgia Stone. I talked about this one in my 10 recent releases on my TBR, and this one is a new favorite. I just really enjoyed the story. So in this one you follow Eva and Finn, and they are both living in London, but Finn is living at the end of the summer. I think the story starts like in May, June. So yeah, he's living at the end of the summer because all his life he has been used to the fact of moving around because his family worked for organizations, and so they were going where the help was needed. So he never really felt any roots to any particular places, but before leaving London he wants to experience it the most he can. And that's where Eva comes into the picture. So Eva works at a coffee shop, and she doesn't really like having friends. That's not a problem to her. She's not a people person, which I relate. And yeah, she works at a coffee shop, and the only two person close to her are her brother and her best friend, but the best friend is going away for a few months next year because she's an artist and she's touring with her work. So now she's quite worried about the fact that Eva will be alone in London. But Eva is like, I'm used to being alone, and if I feel alone, I just go on a dating app, talk to a guy, meet the guy, sleep with the guy, and that's it. I'm not alone for a few hours, so that's it. That's kind of the life she has led until this point. But at some point, Finn hears about that, and he's like, oh, we can do like a fake friendship. You can show me around London, and I'll be your fake friend, so your best friend will be reassured, and at the end of the summer when I leave, everything will be the same, and like the pact will be done. But of course they fall in love. So you see them around London, and I talked I don't remember in which video, but in one of my romance review I talked about The Striker by Anna Huang, and this book also takes place in London. And what I said in that video is like, you didn't feel that they were in London, you completely forgot that they were in London, but this one is the complete opposite, and it's a good thing because I love London. It's one of my favorite places in the world, and they go like to touristic places, but also to like not underground places, but well less known. So it was quite nice to read this, especially I think I was maybe halfway through this book when I went to London, so it was the perfect book to read there. So yeah, it's a love letter to London, but it's also very sweet and very caring. You feel the way that Finn feels for Eva, and Eva is quite hesitant with her feelings because, like I said, she's quite close to her brother, but 5 years ago he had cancer, and like she quit university to take care of her family. That's why also she doesn't really want to have any like relationships, if they are friendships or romantic relationships, because she doesn't want to open up, love somebody, this person dying or this person being hurt, and she can't do anything about it. She's still quite traumatized by the fact that her brother had cancer. So you feel like she's like, no, I don't want to be in a relationship. I don't even want this friendship because this guy is talking too much. He just talks. And I feel like the author did a good job of talking about the fact that Finn talked a lot, but it was not annoying. It was not like, oh my god, just shut up. It was just fun because Eva kept reacting to everything he said as like, just shh. And I really enjoyed that. So yeah, you see them during the summer, and at some point they feel like they have a connection, and at first they're like resisting this connection because again, Finn is leaving, he doesn't want to do this kind of relationships. So yeah, I really enjoyed this story. I really resonated with Eva as a character. She's like, if you want a definition of the two characters, like black cat, golden retriever, but Eva is the black cat, and Finn is just worshipping the grounds she walks on, and that's nice thing to see in a romance book when the guy is so in love with the woman. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I really recommend it. It's very sweet, it's very thoughtful, it's very honest also, with a good communication. So you just see the bond growing from reluctant friend, then real friends, to best friends, to lovers. So you see the evolution of the relationship. So and it's very nice to see. So I really recommend this book, and it's gonna be on my top. I don't know how much of the years, like top books of the years. It's gonna be on the list. And the last book I'm gonna talk about is Unreasonably Yours by Charlotte Jean, and I read it on my Kindle. So here's the cover. First, I really enjoy the cover. It's not the type of illustration that you see a lot on romance covers or just book covers. So I really enjoy this illustration. And in this one, you follow Tony and Killian. And Tony comes to the town just for like a sublet for the apartment. So she knows she has a end date to leave this town. But she comes to this town because she went through a bad breakup and she needs to take some distance, like a few thousand miles away from this relationship, to figure out if she wants to come back together with this person or not, because the reason they broke up is that she never wished to be married, she never wished to have children, and I think they stayed together for 3 years, and he decided to propose to her at Christmas in front of everybody, and that's not anything she ever wanted. So of course she says no, but then that breaks the relationship, that breaks the friendship with anybody she could have there, because they have taken the side of the boyfriend. So that's why she decides to come to the city. It's near Boston, and Killian works at the bar in this city, and one day she goes to the bar to do some work because she wanted to work at the coffee shop, but it was closing, and so she went to the bar, and that's where she meets Killian. And when Killian sees her, he's like, wow, she's the most beautiful woman ever. And at the end of his shift, he asks her if she wants to get dinner, and she's like, I should say no, I'm gonna say no, but then she's like, yes. So they have dinner, and they come back to his place, they sleep together, and it was supposed to be a one-time thing. But then a few weeks later, she goes to another bar, and Killian is there with his friend, and Tony has been stood up on a date. So she meets up with the friend and Killian, and they both realize that they have chemistry. A lot more than they thought they could have, a lot more than just for a one-night stand. And again, it's like a pact they do, that Killian is gonna make her visit the city and Boston and the state, and so she can stay in this city. And if she decides to move away, he says, I will be the one packing all of your thing, moving all of your things. So it's like they spend time together, and she decides if she wants to stay or not in this city. So yeah, that's kind of the main plot of the story. Of course, when they do a lot more things together, they sleep again together, and then they fall in love. I wanted to talk about this book because I think the biggest problem I had with it was that it was too short for what the author wanted to do. It's 310 pages, and I think there were too many different plot points or just subjects that the author wanted to talk about, but not enough pages to do that. So for example, I think maybe 90 or 95% of the characters are like casually queer in this story, which is a good thing, but I felt like it was quite heavy-handed at some point, because you kept meeting a character, oh, they are queer, you meet a new character, they are queer. They are casually queer, but the way that they are introduced is not very casual, if you know what I mean. I felt like that if maybe the book had 50 pages more, it would feel more natural with the way that the characters were introduced. Not even their queerness, but just the way the characters were introduced. And also, to come back to the fact that I thought this book was a little bit too short, it's that Killian used to be in the Marines for 8 years, so he's quite traumatized by it. And he also has a cousin who was also in the army. I don't remember where in the army, but they both have dealt or are dealing with addiction. But not that it was glossed over, but I feel like you could have maybe 5 or 10 more pages in the whole book to talk about it, because Killian is working at the bar, he smokes, he drinks, but he had an addiction with drugs. So maybe it would have been interesting to read about the addiction in some cases, but is not addicted to alcohol, for example. So I think that would have been interesting to read about it, and maybe more impactful, because the trauma from military is a big aspect towards 2/3 of the book. So that would have been interesting to read about. And also to come back to the fact that he smokes. First of all, somebody who smokes, the main character who smokes in a book. Especially because with Tony they have kind of a very light BDSM relationship, because Killian doesn't want to inflict any pain to Tony, so it's just like bandage and not order but like dom sub relationship. So at some point, and that's a scene where I was like so at some point Tony is kneeling before Killian, and he asks her to take off his rings, and she starts to use her hands. It's like, I never said you could use your hand. So she does that with her mouth. But first, taking rings with your mouth, you taking rings from a bartender with your mouth, you, but taking rings with your mouth from a bartender who smokes, you disgusting. I don't know, this scene made me feel like no. Maybe I'm being nitpicky, but this scene I was like no. And also I wished that we had more scenes where they talked about the BDSM aspect, because when they decide to re-sleep together, she's like, oh yeah, we talked with via messages about the rules and like the consent and like the safe words. But I'm like, we could have had scenes with the two of you talking about it, even if it was text messages. Just don't say, oh yeah, we talked about it. No, show us instead of telling us. So yeah, that's were a few moments and a few scenes that could have been added to the story, and I think the story would have been better. Not that it was bad, but just that I felt like at some point something was lacking, and it was just like them being with them, learning about them, and just like, oh yeah, we did that together. Yeah, but you could have shown us. So yeah, I didn't hate this book, it was just good. I read it in a day. So if you want a quick book, you can read this one. But yeah, check the trigger warnings first, because like I said, there's like addiction, military, PTSD, light BDSM. Check the trigger warnings, but yeah, I would still recommend this book. And with this book concludes the video. I hope you added at least one of them to your TBR. Or if you have read any of them, let me know. And yeah, that's the end of the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!